Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast episode. My name is Alicia Gogan, the host of the Globe Seekers podcast, where I help you expand your mind and become more self-aware so that you can glow up into the best version of yourself. Hi, hello, how are we doing? Another day, another freaking dollar. I said that in last week's episode. I don't know why, it's just looping in my brain, but it is, and we're going to go with it. I have been feeling so productive lately. Now, I will attribute to the energy and the productivity to my ovulation phase because that's where I'm in my cycle right now. So God bless a good ovulation phase where it gives you the most energy. Like, honestly, if you don't know about your cycle as a woman, you should definitely go watch some of my videos on cycle syncing. But I have been super inspired. I think you know what it is mainly outside of like the ovulation phase, because like right now I have a lot of energy and I'm just getting things done. Like right now I'm recording this episode way earlier than I thought. I've been super on my videos. I have like 2 or 3 in the backlog ready to go for you guys. I am so on it. And I'm very in my like organization planning mode. But I will say I'm very, very inspired because slowly summer is coming to an end, and naturally I'm just thinking about the fall and the winter. I'm thinking about the content that I'm going to be creating for you guys. I want to come up with this little series that I have for my YouTube channel. I have been focusing, I think I've said this multiple times, but I've been focusing on furnishing more of my condo now that I feel like I'm not living this like hot girl summer. Not like I was actually living a hot girl summer, by the way. It wasn't hot. It was healed. But I just felt like I wasn't prioritizing getting any new like furniture or a rug that I need, or you guys know this freaking studio. But listen. I have found the chair I want to get. I just now need to decide on the color. And so that's going to take me damn near probably 3 weeks to figure out, but I am going to push myself. But the chair that I'm looking at is called the Togo beanbag chair. I will be getting a replica. I am not going to be dropping damn near $5,000 on that chair. So I'll let you guys know. We'll keep it updated, but I've been thinking that I want to like redo this room. And by the way, if you're listening to Spotify and Apple, I do have my YouTube channel. So if you're wondering like why I'd be talking about this, because you could see me if you wanted to on YouTube, but I've been thinking about revamping this whole entire room. Like I want to get a carpet. I'm going to do the beanbag chair, which means I'll be filming lower. It's going to be a whole production. But with that said, I have been very motivated and I have a lot of goals. So when you have a lot of goals, and this is something that I've actually been really feeling for the past like few weeks, I've been having so many goals and, not even necessarily goals, but I have a lot of projects and things that I need to work on to the point where it's forcing me to really make more plans and be very strategic with my time. And to like, lately I've been really, really good with my sleep routine and staying off my phone and doing the things that I need to and having more deadlines for myself so I can get things done quicker. Like I've been really in my masculine energy, trying to get shit done, and it's feeling really good. Like I'm getting so much done, and I figured like, why not give you guys some tips that I've been implementing that I think is really good. And you know what? Like, let's talk about this for a second before we even get into the tips. So sometimes when we don't have a lot of goals or like action plans, we're just kind of flowing through life and just chilling and just being. That you could say is more you being in your feminine energy. And it's not a bad thing to be in at all. It's actually very healing. A lot of people have never even resided in that feminine flow, just, listening to your intuition more, letting out your emotions and just relaxing and being in the present. And both men and women can do this, by the way, too. And just like not taking things so seriously and not trying to hyperfixate and perfect every single action you take throughout your day. It's great. But sometimes you need to add a little bit more masculine energy within your life, especially when you want to hit goals, because your goals do require you to kind of take more of that linear stance. One step here and then the other above and the other above. So you need to kind of think a little bit more strategically and you need to have a focus. And I was listening to a podcast and I was talking about this in the video I posted today, actually. Well, when you see this, it won't be today, but I was talking about how not to feel lonely while building your dream life. Really good tips if you need a little bit of advice, if you feel a little lonely on your journey, which I think a lot of people do. on a self-development journey, but I listened to a podcast from the Skinny Confidential, which I freaking love that podcast. And if you didn't know, it's a couple, like they're married, who have this podcast. So there's Lauren Everts, well, her last name is Bostic now, and Michael Bostic. So there's a male and a female. So I love both their perspectives on things, but they were talking about like 5 business mistakes that they made they're just like giving advice on like mistakes not to make. And they're talking about how, when you're young, really do the most that you can when you are trying to hit goals. Like if you want to be extraordinary, if you want to have the dream life that you say that you have, like it is going to require you to do work and to take that action. And even Michael was saying like, on the weekends where you could chill with your friends, maybe some of those weekends you're going to take to work on your side hustle or your business, especially if you don't know what you're wanting to do in your life. And then Lauren was talking about how she agreed, but she was also saying like, she was talking about the soft life era and how, there's this whole movement of like quiet quitting and just wanting to chill and relax. And she was like, I try and be gentle with myself. Like I totally give myself time to relax and be more in that feminine energy. She didn't say that, but that's basically what she means. But, I still have goals and they require me to take action. And I think the same thing too. It's so important that we don't burn ourselves out and we're not in this hustle culture, because a lot of the times you just push past your capabilities anyways. And then you end up prolonging your process in a lot of ways when it comes to hitting goals, because you're so burnt out or because you're so not aligned to where you're actually technically kind of supposed to be in your life. But I digress. I say that because, there's going to be a time and place where it's important for you to channel more of the masculine energy and to kind of hustle in a way. Now, we can learn how to work smarter, not harder, and not really burn ourselves out. But, the soft life, and I've talked about this a lot of the times, like the soft life is so important and it's so healing, and it's essentially you being in your feminine energy and not taking life super seriously and always trying to perfect and plan. I've already said this before. But again, if we want to have this life, then it is going to require us to take some action. And what helps us take action is to set things in place within our day to allow us to be basically more productive so that we can get the task done quicker, more efficiently, so we don't burn ourselves out, things like that. And so with that said, I've had so many things that it's basically forced me to continue to learn how to be a little bit more productive, more efficient, and I want to share some tips with you guys. So this episode is really going to be for the ones where the season of your life is to channel more of the masculine energy. Maybe if you feel like this is just too much or like too hard or too strict, most likely you probably need a little bit more of that feminine energy. Like maybe there's too many things on your plate where you're like, I can't even add any more productivity hacks or freaking tips or trips or whatever. Like I have been there. And honestly, like that's kind of how I've been this summer. I've been really in the flow of things. I've been creating content based off of what I'm going through in my life. I wasn't pre-planning a lot of things, and I really enjoyed that period of my life. Like it really allowed me to just be in the present and live my life and also experience things so that I can share for you guys. But now naturally, as the seasons are changing, I can just energetically feel the need to add a little bit more masculine structure. And I think another thing is like, if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, lots of anxiety with your life, sometimes that can be a result. Well, obviously there's a million reasons why we have anxiety, and I have a lot of episodes on managing anxiety and stress, but sometimes it's because we actually don't have any focus or goals or clear vision for our lives. When we don't have a clear vision and we feel very lost, there's a lot of anxiety that can come from that. Like, what am I even doing? Where am I even going, right? So if you don't know, that is the first step, is to create a vision for yourself. Now, for me personally, I have a very, very, very clear vision for my life. Now, I definitely always have to adjust it throughout the seasons. Like even now, thinking about fall and winter, there's just going to be things where I need to kind of look back on my vision and adjust it and see where I'm going. But for the most part, I do have a pretty long-term vision, but it will help you in this process if you are feeling a little bit chaotic to have some sort of vision. vision. So sitting down and looking at the life that you want to live or the things that you want to accomplish. Like for me, and this is kind of what has called me to move into the masculine a little bit more, is my book. So I finished writing my book, but of course I have editors. And so right now we're going through all the edits and we're restructuring things and we're doing a bunch of stuff. And it's getting close to the time that we need to submit the manuscript, and then we go to press, and then we do marketing and we do all that kind of stuff. So now, like, there is no more room for me to kind of be in the feminine. I have to set a deadline and I have to have things in place in my life in order for me to get that done. Another thing for me is I'm thinking about fall content, and honestly, fall comes and goes very, very quickly. So now that we are approaching fall, I really need to move into the masculine and sit down and have a vision of like, what types of videos do I want to bring to my audience? What topics do I want to talk about? What would make sense for that season of life for my audience so that you guys can actually get some help throughout each season. You guys know I'm here for you every season. So, really getting clear of what you want. And of course, you could even go bigger than that. Like, obviously, I have certain goals financially and just things that I can see myself doing next year. But getting clear with the vision that you hold for yourself, what you want to accomplish, who you want to be, that will really help you be able to actually take steps towards what it is that you want. Because I think a lot of people kind of even struggle with taking action in their life or being productive because they don't know even where to start or like why they're starting. And I know we have a lot of goals for ourselves. So I would honestly say if you have so many that you can't even pick, just focus on like the next 3 months. So this is what I'll say, like focus on the next quarter. So we have essentially almost 1 quarter left of the year, October, November, December. Obviously, we're still in August and then we have September, but like the next quarter, that's where I'm really planning like all of my content, any of my goals, things that I need to launch, whatever it is. And also make it fun, by the way. This is something that I think I'm going to make a video on. Well, actually, I know that I'm going to make a video on this, how to prepare for fall. I did a video on like how to change your identity for the summer and it did really well. You guys liked it and I created a template and I just talked about, structuring the vision that you hold for yourself. So that video is definitely going to be coming. But if you want to do this now, of course, like sitting down, going on Notion, going on Canva, creating a mood board, like how do you want the next 3-4 months of your life to look? Get clear. Now, I think a lot of people struggle with being productive because they have never actually evaluated where they spend their time. I feel like there has been so many times where I feel like no matter how much time I have in the day, there is just not enough. And then I will sit here and I will honestly like think about what it is that I did this day or the day that I feel like there's just like not enough time. And I realize like I've done like maybe 3 things. And then I realized that I could have done those 3 things in a shorter time frame, or I actually could have done it a lot quicker and I didn't. So taking a second to really think about how much time you spend doing the things that you say you need to do, like working towards your goals, but also things that have nothing to do with your goals. So even if you think about the gym, how long are you taking at the gym? Are you wasting a lot of time just standing around and talking to people and switching music 1,000 times and not having a plan, which usually that's what happens sometimes. People are like, they don't go in with a plan. So then they go in there and they're like, oh, maybe I'll go on the Stairmaster because this is free. Oh, maybe I'll do weights over here. And then like you get home and you do everything else. And at the end of the day, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't have enough time to do this, that, and the third. But it's also like what you did at the gym could have actually taken 30 minutes, but you took another hour to do it because you didn't even have a plan. Or let's say in the morning, you like to have your slow mornings, your relaxing mornings, which is amazing. You can have that. That's good. But something that I was realizing was like, okay, I am spending an hour. I'm giving myself an hour to have like a slow morning, let's say. But within that hour, I'm not even doing much. Like it doesn't take an hour to drink a coffee. It shouldn't take an hour for me to sit and scroll on Pinterest because I don't even want to be scrolling on Pinterest for an hour. It doesn't take me an hour to journal. So why is it that I'm giving myself an hour here for this slow morning routine when I really could do things in a smaller frame? And I want to be clear here. This is not to just be a tyrant on ourselves and to take all the joy and the fun out of everything, but it's simply to evaluate how much time you're wasting and also how much time are you telling yourself that you need to get a task done. And this is going to lead into the third thing, which is if you want to be more productive, you are going to have some more time frames and deadlines, because this is the thing. If we do not have a timeline, we will take as long as we give ourselves. So if you tell yourself, tonight I'm going to go home and I'm going to deep clean my place until I go to sleep, until it gets dark, until I get tired, you are going to spend 3 to 4 hours doing these mundane tasks and trying to get your place clean. You might finish it, or maybe you won't, but you might finish it. But the thing is, if you were to actually tell yourself, okay, when I get home, I'm going to deep clean my place and I'm going to get it done in an hour, most likely, if you're actually setting realistic goals, and we can talk about that, but most likely you would actually get your place cleaned in an hour because you gave yourself that deadline. And this happens all the time. It happens in school all the time. I used to always do this in school. I would literally just wait until the last minute until I actually got that deadline in. And that really showed me that I could actually get something done in such a short amount of time. And also, I am not promoting you wait to the last minute, because that affects the quality of your work as well, obviously, but it really goes to show you, like, you actually could get so much work done in a smaller amount of time. I think you can even think about this when it comes to 9 to 5s. I think when a lot of us moved to working from home, we realized just how much time we waste at work not actually doing anything. And that's how I work as well. Like, I don't have an 8-hour workday because I can get my work done in such smaller frames of time if I'm actually focused and I actually give myself that deadline, that framework. So whatever goals that you have in mind, give yourself a framework and make sure that it's realistic, yes, but have some sort of end date. If you just say like, oh, I want to start my YouTube channel this year, or like, I want to start my YouTube channel this fall, when? What day? And like, how many videos are you going to post within the fall? And then, oh, you want to start Vlogmas. Okay, what day are you going to be planning it? And like, how long are you going to give yourself each day to record the video? Like, you need to have a plan, but you also need to have a time frame. If not, it's going to be up in the air. And what happens, especially when you're planning, is things come and go so incredibly quick, and then you're pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. Another thing to help you be really productive, and this honestly helps me so much, is you need to start eliminating distractions. And I think that we don't even realize how much small little things, when we get off of our tracks, really affect our quality of our work and just the length of getting shit done. And I recognize this within myself sometimes too, because, sometimes let's say I'm writing my book and I'm like in a deep flow, and then I have to go to the washroom. And then when I go to the washroom, I have an urge to pick up my phone. As soon as I pick up my phone, I'm adding at least 2 to 5 minutes extra on top of this break that didn't need to happen, other than me just going to the washroom and getting back. Even if it's just like the simple, like, oh, I'll just quickly check my phone. There is going to be something that gets your attention, and then you're going to click one thing and another, and then your mind's going to go somewhere, and then you're going to be off of the task that you're doing, and then you're going to naturally just go into the, the dopamine kick that you're in. And then eventually, yes, you'll come out of it, but then you just wasted 5, 10, 15 minutes. And on top of that, you took yourself out of flow. So it's so important when you are trying to be productive that you eliminate distractions. So for me personally, like when I am writing, my phone is on DND. Nobody is messaging me. And then also what I do is I go on YouTube and I I type in a 1 hour or like a 2 hour study with me. This is the time frame thing as well that really helps me. So like, let's say I've decided that I want to write for 2 hours. I'm going to go on and find music that goes to 2 hours. So it's done. I'm writing for 2 hours and my phone is away. Or simply in the morning, I keep my phone now outside of my room. I do this because I can wake up naturally, and I'll usually wake up around like 6 a.m. recently, which has been so freaking nice, and it feels so much more productive. That's another tip, I guess. Try to wake up earlier, like honestly, like 30 minutes earlier, but we can talk about sleep. But I keep my phone out of my room because even when if my alarm does go off, if you pick up your phone, even if you're not somebody that's going to scroll for long, even if you scroll for like that 5 minutes, that really does something to you. And if you have goals and those goals require you to work on your mindset in the morning by journaling, or for you to just get up and be in sync by going to the washroom, drinking some water, having a quick pre-workout meal, and then going to your gym, if you start to have these stupid distractions that get in the way, that is going to prolong you from getting to where you want to be. So again, this really does come back to evaluating yourself, not only evaluating where you spend your time, but also like what are your vices? What do you tend to waste your time on? Maybe it's not you picking up your phone, but maybe it's you like, I don't know, constantly going to talk to your roommate every 3 seconds or something, or answering your friend as soon as she texts you versus waiting to get your task done and then to answer your friend. Or maybe when you're at the gym, you recognize that you're just constantly having conversations with people between each set, or like you're switching your music and you're trying to find the right song between each set, but that takes you an extra 2 to 3 minutes between each set, and then it's taking you longer and longer. Like, you really have to start to eliminate those little things, and they will make such a big difference because you will stay in that flow. And when you're in that flow, like, that is the productive flow that you want to be in. That is where you start to get things done. And one thing that I think that has been so transformative for me, because sometimes like when we're trying to be productive and get a bunch of things done, we do sometimes feel like we just don't have enough time. Okay, when I wake up in the mornings and I don't play anything, like I don't play a podcast, it's just me in silence, or I'm working in silence, I swear working in silence makes you feel like time stops. Like, honestly, like, spend a whole day or at least half of your morning one day. Just try it. If you are somebody who, you usually watch YouTube videos in the morning or whatever, honestly, please try to wake up in the morning and don't play anything. Like, of course, you can go on your phone here and there, like whenever it is that you give yourself that time, but do not play anything, and just recognize how your nervous system feels and how the space and time literally feels to you. It's insane. I have been doing that, like, especially like a lot lately, and oh my gosh, I feel like I have so much more time when it's just quiet, when I have quiet mornings. Even when I'm about to do a task as well, I try not to listen to a video that's going to like stimulate my brain, because then my brain's going to think about this idea and that idea. And it's not to say that I can't do my job, but it makes me more calm, more at ease. And then I feel like, I'm getting one thing done after the other and I'm being productive. Another productivity hack that I think is super, super helpful, and I do this a lot, and you have to ebb and flow through this, right? Because there's going to be some days where just having a silent morning is just going to do it for you, or like a silent walk as you're getting your steps in is going to do it for you. But on the flip side, there are going to be times where you can habit stack. And habit stacking, for anyone who does not know, it's basically getting 2 things done at once. Now, we want to be careful with the type of things that we are doing, because we don't want to ruin the quality of work or thing that we are doing. Let's say, I don't know, for instance, actually, this is not really habit stacking, but I'll just mention it anyways. Like, sometimes when I am writing, naturally it's like, okay, let me put on some like background coffee shop music and like set the vibe so it can kind of like flow and like get things done. But sometimes it's distracting. So I'll just turn it off and it will be quiet or like silent. That's not really habit stacking, but I figured I'd just say that. But a habit stack can simply just be, instead of you waking up in the morning and then sitting down on your couch and watching a podcast episode like the one that you're watching right now, and watching it through the entirety, and then deciding to go get up and go for your walk, or get up and make yourself a meal, you would be listening to that podcast as you're making your meal, or you'd be listening to that podcast as you're going for your hot girl walk. Or for me, there are so many people that hit me up on my phone, like all of my friends, family, followers on Instagram, things like that. And if I were to just continue to keep answering people all day, I would literally never get anything done. So sometimes what I like to do is, like, if I'm first of all, quickly, I'll send voice notes to people so that I save time texting. That's not really a habit stack. But what I'll usually do is, like, if I'm going on a walk, I will then decide to listen to the voice notes that my friends sent me, or I will call my friends instead of using the time that I'm supposed to be working during the day and like stop halfway through and then text and have these conversations. Or like with skincare, I do this all the time. Like, honestly, you have to think about the most niche, small little things to do throughout your day. And again, this is not all about like hacking every single part of your life. Like, we need to slow down, but there's some things that you can definitely habit stack. For me personally, when I do my skincare, I have about like 5 products that I usually put on my face at nighttime, depending. Sometimes I literally just put one thing on, done. But When I do my skincare, I like to put like the serum on and then I'll let it dry. And then I'll put on whatever the next serum on, let it dry, the eye cream, let it sink into my face, whatever. So that takes a little bit of time. So when I put the first layer of my skincare on, that's when I will go floss my teeth. Okay, done. Next layer on, now I'm gonna brush my teeth. Okay, done. So I've done brushing my teeth and my flossing, and then I finish my skincare versus doing my 5-step skincare and standing around and doing nothing in between as I'm waiting for it to dry and then brushing my teeth. Simple things like that. And honestly, it really is essentially multitasking. But again, we just want to be aware that we're not taking too much of the quality of the work or the things that we are doing. Like for me to go on a brisk walk and for me to talk to my friend on the phone, like the quality of the conversation is not low just because I'm walking. But let's say, I don't know, like I'm walking in a very busy, crowded place and there's a lot of people and maybe like some people are trying to talk to me, but I'm like trying to like get to a certain place, or maybe I don't know the direction. So I'm trying to look on my GPS as I'm navigating downtown Toronto and I'm talking to my friend on the phone. That is where I would say it's probably not a good opportunity to habit stack, because now the quality of your conversation is not really going to be there. So you obviously have to consider things, but try and look throughout your day. Like if you find yourself just standing around waiting for your coffee to be made, you're French pressing your coffee, is there something you could do? Like I was going to say brush your teeth, but you should probably just brush your teeth after you do your coffee or drink your coffee. At least that's what I do. But maybe you're journaling as you're waiting for your coffee to be done. Like just small little things like that. Now, a few other things that are going to be helpful for you to be productive. And honestly, these things are even more important than you trying to time batch by like setting deadlines and getting things done in a short amount of times. Actually, by the way, I don't really think I talked about the time batching. I mean, I talked about the time frame thing, but okay. Time batching is essentially like you are setting a time that you're going to do X amount of work, but it's all kind of like in one sitting. So I will give you a very good example of how I used to time batch all the time. When I was working 2 jobs, I was working my corporate job and then I was like serving and bartending. I had like a very small amount of time for me to do content. So I wanted to post a YouTube video every single week. And I also wanted to post a TikTok every single day. So I wasn't able to actually get on camera once a week and sit down and film, or on TikTok to sit down every single day and to film and then edit and then upload. So what I would do is I would pick 1 to 2 days out of the week and I would have all of my scripts ready, all of my ideas, and I would sit down and I would batch film. So I would film 3 videos at a time, or I would film 5 TikToks for that whole week. And then I would choose another day where I just edited everything and I planned everything out. And then all I had to do for the rest of the week was hit post. So that's time batching in a way. Okay, so like I was saying though, you're going to have to really set your mind and your body up for success though when it comes to hitting goals and being productive. And this is what I mean. If you are insanely tired, it is going to be really hard for you to be productive really at all. If your sleep is not on par, if you are sleeping in, if you are not going to sleep at the proper times, like these things are going to impact your energy, which is going to impact your ability to make the right decision, which would be to maybe time batch or to get things done in an hour instead of 3 hours. Like your sleep really does change your neurochemistry in your brain, and that does lead to decision making. So I would honestly say really focusing on your sleep schedule can be very, very huge when it comes to being productive. And what I mean by that is, yes, you want to make sure that you're getting the proper amount of sleep and making sure that you're going to sleep at like a decent time. But also what you can start to do is try your best to wake up 15 minutes early, 30 more minutes early, or even an hour if you can. Like you don't have to do a lot, right? But even 15 minutes extra can save you not only like a lot of time, but like you can add like one little thing in. So if you're really wanting, if you have a goal to reprogram the thoughts that you think on a daily basis, because you know that's bleeding into all areas of your life, it's affecting the way that you manifest things, it's affecting the things that happen in your life, etc. Okay, well, one of the things that you've learned that you need to do is to journal and to do more self-concept journaling in the morning. But you don't really have a lot of time. Well, maybe you are going to wake up 10 minutes early to do that before you go to work. Small things like that. And seriously, do not underestimate the power of you waking up 15, 10, 30 minutes earlier and actually taking that time to do one little thing. Again, sometimes when we want to be productive and hit goals, we feel like we need like 3 extra hours in the morning, or we can't do it. But it's not, we don't need to go to that extreme. You have to first show yourself that it's even possible for you to do one little thing versus you trying to do like a meditation for an hour and then journal for 30 minutes and all these things anyways. Like you're shooting too high. Like it doesn't even need to be that deep. And I think this goes into my next thing is like, you do have to be realistic with your goals. And I don't mean for you to tell yourself that you can't achieve certain things in your life. So let's say you are really wanting to work on a side hustle. You have gotten your vision and your goal and you want to take some action towards that thing. And you also have a 9 to 5, so you need to like do some more like deadlines and time batching and things like that. An unrealistic goal would most likely, if you've never even done this before, would be maybe like, okay, 3 days out of this week, I'm going to spend 4 hours on my side hustle after work. Well, that might be a little bit too much. You could try, of course, right? But if you keep failing, then like that's a little bit too much. Instead, just focusing on 1 day a week, you're going to do the 4 hours of work and see how much you can even do and accomplish and continue to make that a habit before you start adding more days. And I'll give you an example. So when I left my corporate job, I ended up going full-time as a bartender and a server because I still wanted to make a lot of money until I could go full-time with social media. I still ended up having more time than I did doing the 9 to 5 in the bartending, obviously, but there were like 2 shifts that I would usually get. So I would get a shift where I would open, so like 10:30, or I would do like a lunch shift, which is like 12, but technically they were the same type. Like it wasn't, I left like 30 minutes in between to go to work. So it was basically a very early morning shift, or I would have a shift at 5 p.m. And so what originally, when I was trying to really like time batch my stuff and really work on my side business, which was my social media, as much as I could, I would try and do editing and like whatever I could in the morning right before I went to work. But then the whole entire day I would be working and I wouldn't get home till either like 8, 9 or 10 or 11 if I was closing, whatever. And it would be a huge long day and I'd be so burnt out. And then the next day when I would start work at 5 o'clock, that would have been a perfect time for me to do like more filming. Like those are the days that I usually film, but I was so exhausted because I tried to add all of this work in before a super long day. And I started to realize that is not a smart way to work. I need to time batch when it makes sense, which is on the days where I have a half day at work. It makes no sense for me to burn myself out, not take care of myself, not even eat breakfast, not go to the gym and take care of myself on the days where I have a huge long day. And then again, it actually affects the next day, which I could have been more efficient with my work if I didn't have such a long day. So you really have to think about your goals and what you're telling yourself that you can do. And this is, again, not to say that you can't do a bunch of stuff. You can, but you want to learn how to work smarter, not harder. And honestly, that is why I was able to do it for so long. Like I was working on I was on TikTok and I had my podcast and a little bit of YouTube, but not really, throughout when I had both jobs. And I didn't really ever burn out because I was able to see when I was setting unrealistic goals, and I would adjust, and I would really, really time manage properly by learning how to time batch in a way that actually worked, and also giving myself time frames and deadlines. Another thing that I think is so important, and a lot of us might not think about this when we're trying to be productive, is to fuel yourself. Coming back to the sleep thing, if you are running on caffeine basically all day and you have like one meal, it's no wonder that you end up crashing and you feel like you can't do things, or you have the urge to go on your phone and get that dopamine kick. Like you are not fueling your brain, honestly, your body and your brain very well. So it is so important that you do prioritize your meals throughout the day. Are you waking up? Are you drinking? Are you staying hydrated? Are you having a balanced meal? Or not just like a meal where it's just like a croissant and then at 4 p.m. you're having a freaking, I don't know, like bagel from Tim Hortons or something, and like a sugary Starbucks drink, and then maybe you're having, I don't know, like something that you deem healthy at nighttime, and like that's it. Like really taking care of your health is going to be so important, because at the end of the day, for one, like what are you being productive for and hitting goals if you're not healthy, right? It's the same thing as like thinking about how health is really wealth. Like for you to work yourself and to, let's say, be successful, right? get a bunch of followers or get a bunch of money or be successful in your job, whatever it is that you're doing, but you're also like not functioning properly. Your health is at an all-time low. You have no energy. You're in a lot of pain. You're constantly ebbing and flowing through different cycles of depression, and then you're happy again. Like, what kind of life is that? Like, I would honestly think, stop trying to even be productive at this point and take so much off of your plate and focus on your health and your wellness first, and then slowly start to implement some of these practices of being a little bit more productive. Like, honestly, that is what I did, right? And we can bring this comes right back down to the soft life. I think a lot of the reasons why a lot of people don't even want to have any goals anymore and like don't want to work and they want to like live a soft life, which I'm not saying everyone who wants to live a soft life doesn't want to work, but a lot of girls kind of like have that idea. It's because you burnt yourself out. It's because you were freaking going insanely hard at the gym, insanely hard working 300,000 jobs, stressing yourself out about freaking guys who are not texting you back, or like how you're going to make your next paycheck, which is understandable. You're in survival mode, but you being in survival mode is breaking down your body. And what I realized is I need to stop trying to hit all of these masculine type of goals in a way. Not to say I didn't have goals. Of course I did. And I was in survival mode regardless because I had to pay my bills. I still worked. But I realized I can't put all of these goals and have all of these things on my plate when my body, my nervous system is literally primed in fight or flight right now. Like, it is literally counterproductive for me to try and start this huge project or this YouTube channel and podcast and TikTok all at once when I can't even get the proper sleep, or I'm not even eating correctly, things like that. And even with my social media, I was very strategic with how I did things. And I knew I wanted to have the YouTube, the podcast, the TikTok, the Instagram, everything. But I knew that I wasn't going to start it all at once. And a lot of people want to do everything all at once, but it's also like you have to look at where you're at right now. Like, there is probably still parts of you that might need a little bit of help, aka your sleep routines. Are you eating correctly? Like, is your health generally, is it good? A lot of the times it's not. So letting go of putting so much pressure on yourself to be super, super productive and hit all of these goals and take care of yourself. And I feel like this is funny because I'm just basically saying don't be productive in a productivity video, but you guys know I'm all about balance at the end of the day. And listen, there is going to be a time and the place, but you are going to know. You know yourself better than I do and what season of life that you're in. Is it time for you to add a little bit more structure into your life? For me personally, absolutely yes. I have a lot of goals that I have coming up that I need to hit, and I need deadlines for them. I need to sit down and plan out how I'm going to do things and when I'm going to do them. And I need to make sure that I'm fueling my body, and I need to make sure that I'm going to sleep at the proper time so that I can wake up and have the energy to take action on my goals. I need to make sure that I am eating and making time to cook balanced meals so that I am fueled. I need to make sure that I'm being very aware of where I'm putting my time and my attention and my energy when it comes to social media. I'm also being very protective of where my time goes outside of work. So my social life, it's not that I'm cutting out people from my life and I'm not having a social life, but yes, I am having more boundaries and saying no. There's a million people who always want to meet up and do things, and there's always events to go to, and there's always things to do. But I realize if I keep saying yes to everything outside of me, then I'm not going to get these things done. And you have to think about ways in which you're putting your energy in things that aren't kind of giving you that return for the moment being, for the time being. It's not going to be like this forever. And this is something that they were saying in that podcast episode too, and that I said in my video, like, you know, when you're hitting your goals and you have a vision, it's not going to be forever that you're in this masculine structure, nor should you be. Actually, let me give you this advice. It shouldn't be. Sometimes we actually we get into this productivity grind and then we just kind of get stuck in it. And honestly, like, welcome to the world. Welcome to capitalism. Welcome to freaking society. Everyone is constantly in this rat race. You need to know when to slow down, and you're going to know because your body's going to tell you. You're going to know because your energy is going to tell you. You're going to know because your intuition, your creativity is going to be very low. Personally, for me, that is when I know I need to slow down. But, you know, there are going to be times where I'm starting to feel a little bit chaotic. I'm feeling a little bit confused. I'm not happy with things. And that's when I know, let me refocus. Let me get excited for my life and let me take that action. Taking that action is super, super key. Now, one last thing that I'm going to say, and this is for the girls, majority of you guys are girls, but Understanding that you also go through a cycle is going to be very helpful. I kind of already mentioned this. If you don't understand cycle syncing, then definitely go check out my videos on cycle syncing. But there are just going to be weeks throughout your month where you are going to naturally have more energy because your hormones are fluctuating. And so for me right now, I'm ovulating. So I know this is the time to get as much done and more. Like literally and more. And this is what I mean. When we make a plan for ourselves and we want to be productive, we have timelines. Okay, I'm going to do this on this day and this on this day. Amazing. Yes, we should follow that plan. Especially when we have like specific goals. Follow the plan and execute that plan until that plan is done. Remind yourself that it's not going to be forever and get that thing done. But on top of that, and this is where I think this is beautiful. I really do. I think that the fact that we have cycles, I think is just, it's a superpower that men, unfortunately, don't have. There are going to be times throughout your month where you actually have a bigger capacity to take on more work. And for me personally, yes, I have in my calendar when I'm going to sit down and record. But if I have that spark of energy to do more, guess what? I'm doing it. Always do more than you think that you can when you actually have the energy. I don't say push yourself when you literally are like menstruating and you're freaking down in the dumps and you have no energy. I'm talking about the times where you feel that energy. And honestly, if men are listening to this too, this can be for everyone, like outside of your period, because honestly, there's just going to be days where you have, for some reason, more energy than the next day. Take action on that energy. Do that extra video, take that extra step, listen to that extra podcast, or, add an extra hour onto writing. I actually did that today because I just felt like I could do it. Push yourself a little bit. You don't have to stick to the structure of that masculine so hard. This is where masculine energy goes toxic. When we hyperfixate and we become perfectionists on things. Yes, it's amazing to have the masculine structure, to have a plan, to implement that plan, to execute on that plan, but there always has to be room for the feminine flow. And what I mean by that is when you are writing a book, let's say, or freaking working on a project, and you told yourself 2 hours, if you have the energy, the creative energy, the flow, the whatever it is to keep going, go a little bit longer. And honestly, go a little bit longer because I can guarantee you next week when you have to do that same thing and you have to sit down and do it again, you might not be able to have the capacity to go a little bit longer. And guess what? Now you've done a little bit extra. So you're making yourself move closer to your goal. And that's amazing. That is something that you can't write on a piece of paper when it comes to your energy systems, especially when it comes to women. Well, you can write on a piece of paper because obviously you know when you're ovulating and things like that, but like only if you track, I guess. But, in general, like it's more of a feeling thing, and that's the feminine, and you can't get rid of it even when you are operating from that masculine. And I think that in this day and age, we separate things very heavily. We stay in one energy state, and realistically, there is no masculine without the feminine. When there's masculine without the feminine, it goes toxic. When there's feminine without the masculine, it goes toxic, realistically. And if you want to even actually bring this into the genders, listen, we need to have a balance of both. And even if it's not male and female, it's female and female, guarantee you one of them got a little bit more masculine energy than the other. And I'm not even talking about the traits and how they look, but there's something energetically beautiful about both energies working together. It is a journey. It is something that I've had to learn, honestly, over the past 2 years of how to make those things flow. I think that it's helpful when you go on a healing journey and you heal the toxic masculine side of you that wants to criticize and wants to perfect, but also the wounded feminine that doesn't want to have any structure, wants to just chill and be in chaos in a way and kind of thrives off of that. Also, maybe you're in that self-doubting, like you're too afraid to take the action because you literally think that you can't do it. Like healing those parts of you can be super helpful. And then what ends up happening, what ends up arising out of that is you can tap into the healthy masculine. You can tap into the healthy feminine and you can make them work. It's like the yin and the yang. We love a good energy balance here. So anyways, I don't know. Okay. I do know this is something that my somatic therapist always says to me. Oh my gosh. Every time I say like, oh, I don't really know, she's like, but you do know. And I'm like, yeah, I do know. Anyways, What I do know is my camera's going to die. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget, I have one-on-one coaching. If you want to work one-on-one with me, we can work through limiting beliefs, any blocks that you're going through. We can talk about content creation, mentorship, all that stuff. It'll be linked in the description. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.